I'm going to talk to you today about grammar, but if you noticed, I put the little quotation marks around it to draw special attention to the word, because for many, many years I thought of grammar as only concerning form, what inflections we put on the end, and how it's categorized in terms of tense or person or whatever, the normal form of grammar kind of stuff. But for many years, when I was teaching in Turkey and when I was teaching in Saudi Arabia, I spent 5 years in Saudi Arabia, and I could have one session just about that. But always my students writing, even when they were advanced, there was something about it that just said, that's not a native speaker writer. You know, but they had so many other problems that I could fix in terms of normal definition of grammar that I said, well, that just has to wait. And of course, you never get to it because there's never enough time. That continued in Turkey and in Saudi Arabia with no time on my part, maybe no motivation, I'm not sure. But when I got to Hopkins, there had been no English department there. And it was my responsibility to design the program, hire the staff, just do everything, curriculum, textbook choices, and I thought, here's my opportunity. I'm going to focus here now, especially on writing. Why does it not sound correct? Well, I didn't have any luck. Everything that I read didn't help me. My own looking at the papers and what is going on here? Blank. It was because I was thinking of grammar only in terms of form, and I couldn't break out of it. How I broke out of it is a little bit of an interesting story. About my first semester, about halfway through, midterm exams for my students, who were full-time graduate students in international affairs at Johns Hopkins, advanced speakers of English, good enough to do a graduate program at an elite American university. Still, their writing is not good. And one of the students comes to me during my office hours, a Japanese young man, and he said, I have a problem. I got a failing grade on this little mini quiz in economics. Can you help me? This is my first year teaching at this school. I know absolutely no economics. What little I knew from undergraduate courses, you know, in one year, out the other. I said, well, I can look at it in terms of the English for you and see if I can give you some advice there. And he showed me this really long, complex, compound sentence, 2 main clauses connected with and then some subordinate structures attached to each one. And I looked at it, and I couldn't understand the content of what was in there, but I could look at the grammar, and everything was right. So I said to him, this isn't an English problem, this is an economics problem. You need to go and talk to the professor about it. I shouldn't have said that to a Japanese student, because culturally that's impossible. You know, we're always learning, and the more students we teach, the more we learn from them. I had taught Middle Easterners who didn't have any trouble whatsoever going to a professor and saying you're wrong. But Japanese, totally different cultural background. He said, I can't do that. Can you please call for me? I said, all right, I will call. This would be a good opportunity for me to network and set up some lines of communication so I can keep track of students. So I called, made an appointment, went up, and I said, I've looked at this and I don't think it's an English problem, and, you know, explained the situation. He glanced down, looked at it quickly again, he said, this is an English problem. What? You know, there goes my status, there goes, you know, here I am dealing with some Nobel Prize winners in economics and things like that. It was a very difficult first year teaching. I felt almost out of my element. And I said, what? What's wrong? He said he hasn't expressed the right relationship between these ideas. It's not and. I'm going to give you a very, very simplified version of what he said. It's not what he said at all, but it gives you the context. Okay? That's about the equivalent of what the student had written, but lots of complex grammar and much more complicated ideas. And okay, what's wrong with it? There's nothing wrong with it. Supply decreased, simple economics, supply goes down, prices go up, right? Professor wanted precision in expressing relationships between complex ideas. He wanted the student to let him get inside his head and see what his values were, how things connected, how they were related. And doesn't mean what that student wanted it to mean. What do we understand from and? What does and actually mean? I had been concentrating on form, okay, and doesn't have any, well, it's got form, okay, it's got phonemes and it's got graphemes for how we write it, but it's not inflected, it doesn't have grammar stuck on the end. What should it be here?
So,
but, therefore,
Whereas.
thus, okay. You see all the different answers?
Yeah.
That's the problem. When we don't express the relationship clearly, you leave it to the reader to interpret how they see it. And Professor was having none of that. We want that communication inside your head, through some medium, get into my head. And that doesn't do it. All right? So this was like a light going on in my brain saying, maybe this is some way that I can solve this problem that they don't sound like native speakers.